begin, I will also make sure Facebook is not going to give us too much feedback. Okay. So here we go. Welcome, everyone. Let's make sure we're live here as we begin. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and hopefully the Facebook video will join us as well. It looks like it's a little slow here. So welcome, Dr. Lisa. I'm so glad to have you with us today. This is a conversation I've been wanting to have for a long time with you. You have meant so much to me and my family. Of course, you were helping my mom with her health for many years, and that has meant so much to me. And that's actually how we connected originally, is through my mother. And we both share the love of Shaka, Vansya, Ayurveda, and Vaidya Mishra's lineage. I started studying with him around age 19. I'm curious, when you began your studies with him, of course, you're one of the very few practitioners that is even trained in Shaka, Vansya, Ayurveda, let alone by Vaidya. He's, of course, with the ancestors now, but you studied with him for many years, and you were growing in your knowledge and wisdom through practice with him. So much to talk about. Let's first dive in and tell us where you began and why Shaka, Vansya, Ayurveda for you.
Oh my gosh.
How did you find this?
Where to begin? So as soon as I found out about Ayurveda, this is in the 1990s, I was on what's called the Mother Divine program. And Maharishi Mahesh Yogi was looking into Ayurveda because he knew that as all his teachers and followers, at the age of 35, we had less buffer in our physiology for self-healing. So he was looking for help. So I got so excited about this because my background was in health. I was on Mother Divine, and I read Charak Samhita, which is like 5 of these thick volumes. It was like I was coming home. I had no clue even what I was reading, but it just felt so good. Anyway, long story short, I asked the powers that be to send me to India so that I could become an Ayurvedic doctor for Mother Divine. And of course, that didn't happen. So fast forward, I'm off Mother Divine. I'm thinking about going to medical school, and I won't tell you how, but I knew Deepak Chopra, was working with him, and I said, I'm going to go to medical school. And he said, no, you have to go to chiropractic school. Then you can do whatever you want. So, and come out and study Ayurveda and be an Ayurvedic doctor. And I'm in chiropractic school, and John Duyard is, yes, do it, So what happened is that when I graduated, the group that I was with decided they weren't going to train chiropractors in Ayurveda anymore. Yeah, so I was on my own. Long story short, I did other things, functional medicine, network chiropractic, frequency medicine, a lot of things, but always I was drawn to Ayurveda, but I didn't know which way to go. I studied different people. Long story short, I'm really taking a long time with this, but I'm in Colorado visiting a friend who is ill, and she said, oh, this is in the 90s. She was working at Moppy there, an Ayurvedic product company, and we are taking care of a new Vaidya. You've got to go see him. His name is Dr. Mishra. He's just come from India. So we went.
I actually think I remember this.
Yeah. This is a funny story. We go over to his house, and he feels my pulse, and he's like, oh, what have you done to your liver? And long story. He said, you're just going to have rice, dal, and Loki for 3 months. And I looked at him and I said, can't you just give me a pill? So, no. So I lasted a few days on that. And a few years go by. And another friend says to me, you have got to study with Vaidya Mishra. You've just got. I ignored him because I thought he was just going to tell me to put people on rice, dal, and Loki because he hadn't made his products yet. So fast forward some more, and Maharishi passed away. And I had a profound experience and was told to find Vaidya Mishra and start studying with him. So that's how it started, 2008 in earnest. And yeah, called him, and he was very excited because I've been on Mother Divine and his father's lineage comes from that lineage. And he was so excited and he said, I don't train doctors, but I'm training you. And he sent me lots of materials. I went out there, he initiated me in the lineage, and that's what happened.
Wow, that is incredible. When you bring up the liver, I laugh because I remember him telling the story of when he came to the West and started taking the pulse of Westerners. He was not prepared for how toxic Western livers were and how hot they were. And he had to reformulate many of his family's offerings and protocols and herbs because Westerners are just beyond what traditional remedies are able to, work with.
As far as I'm concerned, this is one of his major contributions to Ayurveda, because this is why we're getting such great results. He came up with 2 different delivery systems for herbs that bypass the liver.
Right. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because this is very unique to Shaka Vansya. And it's interesting because the more people I meet in the Ayurvedic world, this has now seeped into the reality in Ayurveda. People are talking about Marma therapy. There are a lot more Marma practitioners than ever before. I mean, it used to be you'd talk about Marma and nobody knew what you were talking about. And now people are getting on board. So tell us a little bit about what makes Shaka Vansya so unique, so different, and also how Vaidya reformulated some of these practices.
Well, there are many things that make it different in that this lineage is unbroken. It's not, oh, let's read this book and throw this here and, this and that. This is a lineage that the knowledge has been unbroken for thousands of years, passed father to son. And I guess we're having some female influence. But yeah, and I think that's why the results are so good. The other piece, that the holders of the lineage would meet regularly and upgrade the protocols based on the environment at the time. Because, oh my gosh, for example, way thousands of years ago, the only toxin really was what's called ama, which is kind of undigested material that winds up in joints and things like that. And so they only knew how to treat ama, which with very hot formulations. Well, nowadays, we have 3 more types of toxins. One of them, Vaidya introduced into the lineage. So the first 2 are what you'd call environmental toxins, pesticides, things like that, things that come from the outside, xenobiotics. And that's called Garvisha, that toxin. And the other one our body makes, because we have so much more free radicals running around. So that ama visha doesn't stay that ama doesn't stay cold and clogging for very long. It gets operated on by free radicals and becomes visha, which is poison. And that is called ama visha. And these 2 really, they work their way down the tissues, the body tissues called dhatus. And when they get at a very fine level, bone marrow, then we see autoimmune diseases, all those things.
Yeah.
And, the 4th toxin that Vaidya identified, and I think you wrote it in your little newsletter, but Indra Vajra Abhijanya Visha, which is lightning, which is
EMF.
the other toxins, it takes a long time to work their way down to the deepest levels, but the EMFs just jump the gaps. And that's why you see children with brain cancer and things like that. So I didn't answer your question, but I did discuss toxins.
Well, I think that is one really important reminder that makes Shaka Vansya so different, and also Vaidya's protocols so different, because of the different types of ama that he identified and the way he treated them. You know, I grew up with Ayurveda, and I know that it helped my body. I was a very sensitive child we had extreme trauma in my family with the loss of my father. And I was just sick all the time. And I know that Ayurveda helped, that if we hadn't had Ayurveda and my mom hadn't been cooking and, you know, doing all the Ayurvedic protocols, that it would have been a lot worse. But I stayed pretty sick for many, many years. And it wasn't until I met Vaidya that I started to make progress. And what I attribute that to is the high sensitivity level that my body has. And his protocols work so well with that really high sensitivity. And I mean, the things that he would tell me kind of make me laugh a little bit now because they make so much more sense. But I remember him also talking about how Pitta and high Pitta is actually the hardest to treat. And most Ayurvedic protocols and practitioners don't know how to actually treat it. And you have to be very careful. Otherwise, you get a toxic crisis or a detox crisis, which I don't know if I can share what the stories that you have, but I know at least one story. And, you know, there are many people that even do PK, and it's the wrong thing for them. In fact, I remember Vaidya saying to me, no, you don't do PK. PK is the worst thing you could do for your body right now. We have to clean up we have to stoke the Agni first. Then we have to support the body in releasing the ama, because right now it's making ama. And then we can do a gentle detox over long, slow periods of time, rather than going in with this big. So he was the first one that I realized, you know, you can rupture dhatus and shrotas and there's no coming back from that. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. They're doing these enemas and these extreme detox protocols, and they end up in a worse situation than when they started. Has that been your experience? Have you worked with that? Do you see that?
Yes, it's very true. You know, people think that they can just kind of roto-rooter, you know, but at every stage of the digestive tract, we say the intelligence is different. It's like a whole different biology at every stage. For instance, in the mouth, we digest carbohydrates. Then we move down through the esophagus and into the stomach, which the stomach lining is very thick because we are digesting proteins, hydrochloric acids in there, you know. Then we move down further into the small intestine. It's very base. So by just throwing in some cayenne pepper and what else, and just kind of hoping for the best, what happens, Vaidya taught us, is that you can destroy that fine intelligence and over time create autoimmune diseases because the immune system just gets confused. And the other thing is, what we really want to do when it comes to detox is get to those fine dhatus, which are it's subtler and subtler levels of tissue that the body makes. And you can't get that just by surface cleansing. You get that by what Vaidya did with you, very slow detox.
Very slow.
You know, it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. It totally is.
Yeah.
And it's really for princesses and princess. I'll just say that. I mean, I remember even hearing about Vaidya's protocols for himself, and it was like, there was never a spare moment of the day where he wasn't like doing
Yeah.
some sort of TLC, eating on time, drinking something, taking something, applying something. And obviously not everyone can live that way. I even live a very special lifestyle that, majority of people can't live or won't choose to live. Although I help my clients live more in this way, which is a gentle path, do less, accomplish more. Fewer clients, higher price point, these things that actually allow you to take care of your body and your soul because you have more time. We
And
need
I don't
more
want to
time.
scare people because
Yeah.
I see a lot of busy people. And, if you do 70, 80% of the things that I recommend, you're going to notice a change.
100%.
So, yeah.
100%. And even just putting some drops in your water and,
Yes.
making sure you're eating the right things at the right times. And even, the intelligence that Vaidya had, the mastery of awareness and insight that he brought to my practice. Of course, I've been able to apply that to what I have now called embodied Vedic astrology, but it's really this finest level of awareness that he radically shifted my understanding of Ayurveda. And I'll give an example of that. And it's really just probiotics, for example. I remember him talking about the yoginis and how most people are dumping dumb intelligence into their gut biome through the wrong probiotics. And by wrong, I mean they're just dead, they're dumb, they're unintelligent. And that's then what's proliferating in people's gut biomes. And so, he was very specific about the type of probiotic to use and how to make your own yogurt and all of these things. And most people just don't even know these things about probiotics, for example. And just these small changes in understanding intelligence, the intelligence of our food and our environment, and it has such a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Really. So where would you advise someone to begin? Let's say, because a lot of people listening, and of course, a lot of my clients, they're already Ayurvedic practitioners.
Oh, great.
They've been studying Ayurveda for years. They might have a certificate. They might even be, working with clients and that kind of thing already. What would you say to them?
One thing where we differ, where Shaka, Vansya, Ayurveda differs, is that we start with prana.
Mm-hmm.
Most other systems start with vata, pitta, and kapha,
Mm-hmm.
right? So prana is that vibrational aspect of the universe. And it has three aspects, right? Soma, Agni, and Marut. They have three distinct qualities, but they're all prana. Soma is the vibrational aspect of the coming from the moon, Agni from the sun, and Marut, the Akashic space, okay? And when that enters the body, it becomes dosha, which is, that word dosha means impurity. So if these people are already studying Ayurveda, I think they would enjoy studying a little more SWA and learn more about Soma, Agni, and Marut, and how vibrationally they can add healing tools to their, practice. Also, speaking just to the general public, the most important thing for healing is rest. When the body is rested, it has the extra energy to heal. So number one, sleeping by 10 p.m. Okay, sleeping by kapha time, because we say we're catching the last angel train at about 9:30. Okay, because at 10, between 10 and 2 is pitta time, and if we are sleeping, the liver can begin self-healing.
Mm.
If we're not sleeping, you notice at around 10, you get that second wind.
Mm.
But it's much better to use that wind during sleep. So I know it's so mundane, but I see people get well. This is just the fact. They get well faster if they're sleeping by 10.
Mm. Okay. This is the family, this is the lineage issue. And my mom struggled with it, my grandmother, my sister, we all struggle with the sleep thing. And
Oh,
it's me. I'm better, but
yeah.
I need to hear this over and over and over again. And I remember Vaidya saying that too, that sometimes you just have to be told. Like you might
Yeah.
even know already, which I do, but I just have to be told. And
Yeah. But we should get together because there's all kinds of little tools and techniques that I can share that make it easy.
I want to know all about that.
Yeah.
There's this element that I see as part of the healing process that has to do with parasites and entities and how that influences what we're feeding and how hard it is sometimes to actually clear these old patterns and these old behaviors,
Yeah.
these cravings, if you will. And
Yeah.
so anyway, that's a topic for another time, but it's something that Ayurveda, it's kind of part of the Ayurveda.
Aren't you glad you asked me that question?
Yes, I need help, please. Okay, but in terms of practitioners, and of course, sleep is the number one thing. You're saying you have to be in bed by 10. The liver needs rest and support.
The body.
The body. For Ayurvedic practitioners already, this Soma, Agni, Marut. I want to make a connection here to Jyotish,
Okay.
just for those of us who are also using this Vedic tool for healing and transformation. Soma being the moon, Agni being the sun, and Marut being Jupiter. Okay, so Soma, Agni, Marut. Jupiter is Akasha, space and spirit.
Interesting.
That. And so we can track this in the body and we can track this in our Jyotish chart. And that's part of my embodied approach. So, where's the moon today and what nakshatra and what sign and how does that feel in my body? And sun, where is sun transiting and where is that located in the chart? There's a body part that correlates to that. So where's the sun influencing my body right now? And same with Jupiter and the other planets as well. So there's always a direct correlation to what's happening cosmically and what's happening in our own physiology, which becomes a fascinating study and tracking device for enhancing our healing and our own soul transformation. But I'm going to highlight the rest thing because this is the time of the year where we rest and nature's starting to rest. And we're moving into Navratri and an eclipse cycle, and then sun goes debilitated. And it's the lowest point of the year in terms of light and energy. So this is a perfect time to reset, to pause, to rest more, as you say. And I'm curious, is this also the time where the liver and, share more with us? I'm going to answer my own question, but because the sap is flowing and it so easily flows in these gap cycles, how can we support our physiology in releasing toxins right now gently? Because nature's already doing that. So the channels are open and awake for movement and release. How can we safely just start a Shaka Vansya protocol?
Well, safely is the word,
Mhm.
because we have to make sure the channels can handle toxins leaving. Number one, I guess, I'm not talking to newbies. I keep thinking I am, I'm not. Of course, we eat organic. We cook our food with spices and ghee, water, or olive oil and water. I can give a spice mix that is wonderful to help this process. It would be 1 part turmeric, 1 part cumin, 4 parts coriander, and 4 parts fennel. Each one has a healing property. And of course, turmeric is very important for the liver to bring light and intelligence. The others are good for digestion. And the coriander grabs toxins that are floating around in the blood, pulls it out the liver. So, you know, cooking a meal a day with that spice mix would be really great.
Yeah. Yeah. And the turmeric piece and how I think, you know, this is another thing that Vaidya was so incredible at. You know, I just remember cooking with him and the processes and the sequencing.
Yeah.
And so many people don't understand how important the spice mixtures are, but the way we cook with them so that they enhance the Agni, they support the pilot light within the body. I'm thinking of, you know, I have many clients who study Ayurveda and they don't have the right spice mixtures. And I'm just like, mom's masala, just start with mom's masala. That's the easiest thing you can do. You know, they're using store-bought kind of mixes and,
Well, first of all, if it's pre-ground, there's really no healing prana in there at all.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got to grind it yourself, and you can make a good amount.
Then is it pre-toasted or is it raw? You know, I mean, then those.
Yeah. I mean, but it's what you say is so true. I'll see people and I have to dig. My consultations are long initially because I have to just keep digging because, oh, I'm using a spice mix and it's got like garlic that is just detrimental to the body. So
can you say that again, Dr. Lisa? You just cut out garlic and what else?
Garlic or all kinds of things. Like if you're a super pitta type, you should not be having powdered ginger, you know, all kinds of things like this. But I'm having this every day. Why am I this? It's not just spices. It's what spices and the, you know, what fraction of which spice. And then, of course, you want to heat up your fat and oil and then kind of saute your spice a little bit and then add your food and make sure it's covered so the aroma doesn't leave, all kinds of things like that. But yes, you can just buy mom's masala
from Chandika, the Chandika website. And you can also see Dr. Lisa and she'll set you up with the right protocol for your body and nervous system to enhance the intelligence within. Because there are so many subtleties. And I think that's one thing about Shaka Vansya, that it can be overwhelming, but on the other side of it, it's that finest level of intelligence, the subtleties that Vaidya brought to Ayurveda and how he educated so many of us who were already using Ayurveda, but it's the subtleties and the why behind what we're doing that, I mean, it's just, it blows my mind. And still, I mean, just even hearing you talk, I'm reminded of like, wow, the gratitude I have for this knowledge and wisdom. And, you know, I barely know anything.
I feel that way. You know, I mean, there was never a question, no matter how esoteric, that Vaidya Mishra couldn't answer.
Yeah, he was, well, and his lineage comes from the Odisha region, correct?
The what?
The Odisha region. So the, let's see, the Eastern region. Isn't this more of the occult, mystical region?
I don't know about this.
The Shakti, I mean, his lineage is a Shakti lineage. It worships the divine feminine. Lalita is their family deity. And
what I know is, you know, the story, right? That Krishna's son had leprosy. You know, we tell everyone it's a 5,000-year-old lineage. Krishna's son had leprosy and called all of these couples, doctor couples from Shaka Island, which was off the coast of Madagascar. And they healed him. And that's how the lineage began.
The dermatology lineage. Yes, Shaka Vansya. And they continued to serve the royals of India for many generations.
Right.
And of course, what became so obvious, probably to him coming to America, is how suited that type of knowledge really is for people with extremely hot toxic livers. Because if we can bypass, taking pills and herbs, you have to go through the liver to get any of the intelligence of that herb. Well, if your liver is extremely hot and toxic, you're going to get maybe a small portion of that intelligence. So the dermatology approach, or the marma and topical approach, is to apply the herb to the skin. So can you just share a little bit more about that? I'm imagining even the Ayurvedic practitioners may not understand the why behind that and the intelligence of that.
Okay. Well, Vaidya used to say that the liver does about 500 chemical reactions at a time constantly. If you were to make a factory that did that, it would be at least 1 mile long and 1 mile wide. Huge. And and it's also very delicate. It's not like a machine factory. These are very delicate processes. And also another factor that I'm seeing is, depending on your genetics, these processes may be not functioning at 100% anyway, even if you were eating the most pure food. You bar and things like that, just lower detox capability anyway in the West. I'm seeing that because I look at people's genetics. But anyway, so the liver, anything you eat has to go through the liver. Vaidya Mishra said the liver can only really recognize food and herbs. So you put pills in there and it doesn't know what's going on. It's it heats up. It heats up. That you do that, the hotter it gets, until really, even if you're taking the most expensive thing, you won't get the results. Maybe your blood test will show better, but really the body is not benefiting. So what happened when Vaidya came to the West and he gave people his herbs, which were very powerful, very full of prana, he told me, everybody's breaking out in boils. What is this? So he backed away and he said, let's put them in creams transdermally. They come in little pots. This is, I think, ashwagandha. Anyway, so he started putting the herbs in these transdermal creams, and people started to get the benefits. He started to use diet, etc., to cool the liver, to watch the pH rise. To measure your pH in the morning, first thing, saliva. And it was great.
And water too. Can you remind us about the pranic water? People are drinking dead water.
Yeah, it drives me crazy. I'll have people go, but I spent $5,000 on this filter. Well, Vaidya Mishra would say, if you bring me a cat and it's dead, I don't care what water you put through it, it's still dead. When water has gone through a treatment process anywhere, it's chlorinated, except spring water. And so there won't be prana in it. And I've seen the result. He's also, I know you're moving towards his other delivery system. I don't mean to be marketing for him. It's just exciting. But I get such great results. I will never forget it. I was on the phone with him and he said, Lisa, God gave this to me. I found a way to suspend the prabhav of the herbs in organic squash blossom nectars. Prabhav is kind of what the herb is benefiting, right? It's the benefit of the herb. And so he's got all these little bottles, blue bottles, with different herbs, and we take a liter of spring water. I give a prescription to patients, maybe 5 to 10 of these. They're all in one bottle. They sip it all day. The spring water carries the herb and keeps it alive. And I know this is true because when I was practicing in Austin, that's when I saw you. I had a patient come in. She said, Dr. Lisa, this is amazing. I've proven that the spring water is the way to go with these because I've been sleeping great. Everything's been wonderful. She had sleep issues. But then yesterday, everything fell apart and I realized I would use tap water instead of spring water. Spring water carries the prana.
So true. And I remember him being so adamant about pranic water for intelligence and having the intelligence of water, and that only nature can do that. No filter. I don't care what the filter is, how expensive it is, your water's still dead.
And where you live, you probably have a good source of spring water just now.
Oh, why do you think I live here? I'm not ever going to live anywhere where I can't have access to raw spring water. We actually can go fill up at the source. And I can get it delivered to my house in glass bottles. But I mean, it's just such a gift. And I have to have,
we're made of water.
We're made of water. Yes. So if you come see Dr. Lisa, you'll get drops for your water. You'll get creams for your body and Marma points. You'll get Ayurvedic protocols and spices to work with and ways to cook. And is there anything else that people should know before we close today? I mean, I want to keep talking to you. I think we're going to have to do this again.
I love it.
We'll talk about maybe Amma more in our next session. But what would you like to leave people with? How can they just step into this a little bit more?
Well,
no matter where they are in their health.
Well, I mean, the sleep, the cooking with spices. Well, here's a big one. But before I say that, I just want to say a little promo that anyone can sign up for a 30-minute talk with me, and I give a couple of free tips for their situation. I don't pressure people to work with me. I'm just trying to reach a lot more people. So
we'll make sure that link is available, Dr. Lisa, so people can reach out to you and the consult.
So, but leftovers, you want to talk a little about that?
Oh, please.
Everyone is so shocked. The thing is, Vaidya would say food is a prana delivery system. So if that's the case, you want to make sure you get enough bang for your prana buck, right?
Right.
Food is alive. When you cook it, it's still alive. The spices make the liveliness of the food actually more available. He said when you cook with spices, it's like they're time released, taking those nutrients down to the deepest tissue. Well, if you cook some food and then you put it in the refrigerator so you could heat it up the next day, then you're eating pure poison. It's Amma, there's no prana. That's all I'm going to say. It's hard. People are like, what do I do? Well, you just start cooking just the amount you need, really.
And God forbid you microwave it.
Yeah, that's another toxin, right? We didn't even talk about the Indra Abhijanya Visha, because that is a form of EMFs that you're putting in your food. But
then you're just eating EMF.
Yeah. And it's not like, oh, you have to eat it all at lunch and throw it out. No, you can have it at dinner. It's just you don't want to put it in the fridge and then take it out and reheat it and think you're giving yourself nutrition.
And I think it's something like 6 hours before it's dead. Didn't he say?
Yeah, I mean, they say that, but you can stretch. We've stretched it. I mean, other practitioners besides me, you can have it in the evening. It's best to have it, 4 or 6 hours, but
I try to make my main meal at the middle of the day and make enough for the dinner, and then the dinner's already ready.
Beautiful. And, that's what we do. Best to eat your main meal during the Agni time, 10 and 2, really 11 and 1, to get the support.
And that dinner needs to be lighter and more easily
Yes.
digestible.
And that's just because look at the sun, look at Agni, that's where your digestive fire is coming from. The later it gets, the less light there is. So if it's nighttime, maybe have some warm milk with spices, you know, and don't go for heavier things.
You know, we need to come back and talk about perimenopause and menopause and protocols for that. That's actually something I struggle with because the need for protein is so high for me. And it makes detoxing and cleansing more difficult because of the high level of protein that I need. But I will just tell a quick story about that, because when I first met Vaidya, I was vegan, and he was so not on board with that.
Yeah.
And, I was like, no, the animals. And he kept, every time I would see him, he would just a gentle nudge. Have you considered adding animal products? And I'd be like, no. And eventually he worked me to the point where I was like, okay, ghee and milk. But then he kept pressuring me. He was like, you have to eat animals. You need at least chicken and fish. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
The animals. But it became so bad for me that I was too weak to even practice yoga. I was severely anemic. I was having all of these problems. And eventually I've had to add red meat. And so I'm still needing red meat, and but I need concentrated doses of protein every single day. And I can't get away with not having it. My blood sugar just
Are you blood type O?
I believe I am. Yeah.
I'm happy to talk to you about all this.
We will talk. I'm definitely going to book a consult with you. I need an update on a lot of things. But the protein thing, I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm supposed to be vegetarian. Ayurveda is pro-vegetarian. And here's a man from a Brahmin tradition, never had any, meat and no onions, no garlic in his, no nightshades. Oh, we didn't even talk about nightshades.
But the meat, he told me when I first started seeing him, you have to have chicken 3 meals a day. And I'm like, it's medicine. It's in Charak Sanhita. It's medicine.
Yeah, it's so true. And
don't feel guilty about taking medicine.
Yeah, medicinal meat. It's a thing. I mean, Charak is full of examples of things where this puritanical ideology, it doesn't hold up. I mean, even like smoking medicinal cigars. I was shocked when I read Charak, and I was like, what? And eating buffalo and like all of these things. But if everything is medicine, and I truly believe, and I take more of a shamanic approach to everything, if everything is medicine, everything has the opportunity to heal. Everything has a shadow side, everything has a light side. How do we use the medicine? How do we work with the medicine? And then healing looks so different for each person, path. I mean, nothing reminds me more of that than studying Jyotish. I mean,
everyone is a universe within
everyone is a universe.
I love that.
So powerful. Dr. Lisa, I know you and this incredible lineage is very well suited to healing and working with really hard diagnoses and challenging health issues. My mother had bone cancer for 13 years. She was able to heal her bone cancer through Shaka Vansya and actually stop chemotherapy and all the drugs and pharmaceuticals, and was able to heal. And I'll never forget that, because to me, that really speaks to the depth and the power of this lineage and its wisdom. And I think for those people who may be not sure where to turn, or I don't know if there's a solution, or how can I heal this deep, scary dis-ease that's happening. Just a reminder that Shaka Vansya may be that resource for you, and might be the thing that can
Or a
support your body.
or excuse me for interrupting, it's a bad habit. I think I do it because I'm afraid I'm going to forget what I was going to say.
Go ahead, Dr. Lisa.
But, you know, or a concurrent resource. I see people with these kinds of diagnoses, and, you know, I work with, you know, there's oncologists, whatever, and they're surprised to see the lab results turning around. But we never say we're healing any of it.
Right.
We're supporting people with these diagnoses.
And the way that I see this, and this is, you know, in my path of healing and using Jyotish and becoming a therapist and all of these tools that I've gathered, for me, and I think Shaka Vansya really illuminates this, it's about restoring the intelligence of the physiology. The body knows how to heal itself. If given proper conditions, it knows, it has the intelligence. So really what Shaka Vansya is doing in Vaidya's lineage, it's about restoring that intelligence to the physiology so it can do the work. It knows how. We will make sure that there is a link so that people can easily find you. Dr. Lisa, do you want to leave us with anything, any words of wisdom before we close?
This isn't hard to do, you know, because I never expect people to go 180 degrees in lifestyle and diet. We just take baby steps. So, you know, if anybody's afraid to take a leap, it's really not a leap. It's just baby steps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's the slow, gentle path. It really is the slow, gentle path. We don't have to go in with massive overhaul or, you know, radical shifts and changes. I remember Vaidya being very good about that. Like, let's just give you a couple things to do, and then we reassess. And then that's a whole pulse conversation, which we'll save for our next. Because I remember him talking about the different types of pulses. But that's another, we'll save that for our next conversation. I definitely want to have you back, Dr. Lisa. You are a guest teacher in my Embodied Vedic Astrology certificate course. Those in the course are going to get the benefits of all your knowledge and wisdom and all of these insights that you bring. And I'm so thrilled to have you joining us in the course. That's going to be wonderful. And for those of you who are interested in reaching out to Dr. Lisa and having a consult, we'll make sure to link to her, and you can connect with her for insights. If you're interested in joining us in the Embodied Vedic Astrology certificate course, this is the last day to join. We actually start tomorrow, right before Navratri begins. So please book in to my calendar, comment waitlist below, and I will follow up with you. We'll have a chat. I'll send you the details and we'll get you registered. So comment waitlist below for details about the course. And I look forward to having you join us. This is an incredible group. I mean, it's blowing my mind, even who has shown up and joined us for this course. Very high level practitioners, meditators, seers, healers, guides. And if you are feeling called to be using Jyotish for healing, transformation, Dharma, which is the highest purpose of Jyotish. It's not prediction, it's actually for healing. Vaidya Mishra is the one who gave his blessing to me, encouraged me to use this tool for Dharma and for healing and bringing this body-centered approach. If it weren't for him, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing because I didn't have the courage. I had so much self-doubt, and it was that nudge. I needed that nudge from him, and it gave me the courage to share my gifts and wisdom. That's what this course is all about. That's what we're doing in this course, giving you the courage to awaken that inner light and really share your gifts and wisdom. Hope you will join us. And Dr. Lisa, will have you back. Let's talk ama and pulses and prana the next time we see you.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me. This was so much fun.
So much fun. Take good care. I'll see you in session, Dr. Lisa.
Bye.
Bye.